Peace. Greetings to you all. It's your brother Naheem, BKA Lord Abba, aka Mr. Just the Facts. Family, make sure you hit the like button, share the video out. I'm not going to be on here that long. Well, let me not say that. You never know who might want to jump on at the end of the live stream, but I don't plan on being on here that long. Let me say that. I just want to highlight some of the news articles that we as freedmen are in. I want to give a shout out to the DMV freedmen for their recent article as this freedmen consciousness spreads across the country and the legislation that Sister Antonia and the Boston and New England freedmen worked on, right, to get that freedmen language in there. We are watching a true resurrection. And in that resurrection, there will be a renaissance. There's going to be a freedmen renaissance. Well, I could say we're witnessing the freedmen renaissance, basically. I believe that is happening right now. Shout out to everybody that's joining us. Black Sea, what's going on, Brother Derek? DMV Freedman, who's also featured in that article. I'm going to pull that up in a second. Brother Charlie Jacobs, peace to the American freedmen, family pressing on. Yes, we are. Bond Dog, what's going on, Bond Dog? We are, we're going to touch on some things. You see the thumbnail. The thumbnail is an image of Sister Roz and Sister Kelly from Washington, D.C., in the Washington Post, and the other one is an image of me. I'm looking all puffy in the grill. I ain't getting no good sleep that night. My eye bags just look absolutely crazy. That day was a little crazy, but it is what it is. It's what we say. It's what we say that matters, right? It's what we say that matters. But I want to pull some of this up in a few. Make sure y'all hit the like button. Make sure y'all share the video out because, this started as one of them moments among our team. And, I remember these conversations vividly. Me, Logic, Ali, Josh, and Grim. And, but especially that core that was like having this particular conversation in that moment. It was me, Ali, Logic, and Josh. It was because we were on the phone. And this freedman thing came up. I'm like, yo, we might need to be using this term freedman right here. And we all just like, yeah, then to combat the teachings of the lost cause, we came up with the name United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen. And that title of our ancestors took off. That title that our ancestors earned, that they fought for, it took off. Peace, cool for real. It just took off. Took off, man. And, I seen it all over Clubhouse. I was proud. And although a lot of people, it was a lot of fallouts, some people backtrack. Even more recently, we see that as well. But it is what it is. What happens, man. Things happen. Things happen. We watched as people grew in their understanding. We watched as people weren't really feeling the freedman thing, right? There were some people who were not feeling this freedman term because they felt that it interfered with what they had already established, which we thought was silly. We thought was absolutely silly, but it is what it is. We all have our points of growth in life, and it doesn't matter how old you are along the path. There's still room to grow, still room to learn and accept a superior position. And this freedman position is the superior position. And that's just the fact. That's just the fact. So watching it spread, if there's a such thing as the spirit of the ancestors being among us, right? Because some people may not believe that. What's going on, Sister Frida? Some people may not believe that. But if there's a such thing, then the spirit of our ancestors are with us. We make some new revelation every week, man. And we just don't put it all out there. But every week, it seems like we're coming up with something new, and we put it through our. Remember, I used the analogy from Wesley Muhammad from a lecture that he did in 2011. BTP Shanna is in the building, where he spoke about intellectual pigs and intellectual cows. And he said the intellectual pig, it just digests, just passes through your system or its system. And then the next thing you know, it craps it out. The intellectual pig just eats everything. Eats everything. The intellectual cow, on the other hand, well, that's a different process, because a cow has 4 stomachs. I think, what was the term? Polygastric, I believe was the term. Polygastric. And that food, the breakdown of that food has to process through 4 different stomachs. And that's what it was with Be the Power, right? And in this case, it was like 5 different stomachs, right? But until we kept pushing out a more refined product. And when I say product, I mean our understanding of what this freedman status entails. That's the inspiration of my little flag back here, man. Freedmen. Family, fidelity, freedom, and force. That's 4 F's you're looking at right there. I just think it's a powerful symbol. It looks plain, it looks almost funny, but I like it. I really, really like it. And we set out on this journey to teach, and that's exactly what we did in this space when we started the Be the Power YouTube group, because the channel had already been in existence for years. We had already touched on reparations years ago on the channel that you all knew as Be the Power, which is now called Freedmen University. This is the new Be the Power channel. Shout out to BTP Riri in the building. I want to pull up the DMV Freedmen, because I meant to do this last night, and we got so caught up in our conversation that I just forgot all about it. And let's read the headline. Reparations fight will not be won anytime soon, but they are all in. The DMV Freedmen's struggle for reparations helps its members understand history. And we see our sister Roz and our sister Kelly, and they are in front of the plaque of the Freedmen's Bank, the site of the original Freedmen Savings and Trust Bank that was set up by Abraham Lincoln in 1865. I want to read what it says on the plaque. On this site stood the principal office of the Freedmen's Saving and Trust Company, founded on March 3rd, 1865, to receive deposits from former slaves. Frederick Douglass served as its last president. The bank was closed on, I can't see the date, but that's something we could pull up. The building was sold, and I can't see that date, and raised a few years later, because they wanted to destroy any vestiges of this freedman status. Was that understanding that we were freed men and freed women would have motivated us, and it did motivate us. Mercer Baradaran in her book highlights a quote from a freedman that said, "We advanced 100 years in 1 year." 100 years in 1 year. Peace, Sister Satra Del Ree. in the building. Shout out to everybody that's listening in. And we could get through some of the article. Let me see. Because I seen one of the groups, they they tried to cherry pick some stuff. And this is the part right here where the author got it wrong here. And it's cool. They do that. They don't know any better. But Freedmen plan mirrors one adopted by the American descendants of slavery, which would require at least one parent's ancestry to be traced to a formerly enslaved person. Well, we know that that's false. We know that is Dr. Darity's, that's his criteria, basically. My bad. I was reading something at the same time and trying to talk. But we know that that's just not true. It's just not true. And the author didn't know that. And it's cool. It's cool. It's cool. But like this line, the DMV freedmen are aware that the odds are against them. Although most Black people think reparations are owed, few think they will ever be paid. An overwhelming majority of white people strongly oppose the idea. It would have been good if he would have looked at the Pew Research poll and seen that, we do believe that this is a reality and that it can happen, something that can happen, but that's based on our, that's based on our advocacy, the work that we put in. It says also some Pan-Africanist advocates believe that differentiating among Black people would foster bitter divisiveness and lead to xenophobia. This is the weirdest statement, not necessarily because it's coming from this person. No, this is actually coming from the Pan-Africanists who don't mind that there is disaggregation. There are groups who identify themselves with by their own countries and wave the flags of their countries. They ride around with flags hanging from their rearview mirrors. But somehow, when we choose to differentiate, it is a cause for xenophobia. And this is why we are calling for the debate with Greg Carr. He's ducking the smoke after asking for it. Peace, Sister Shannon McFadden is in the building. And so, of course, we see it for what it is. We see it for what it is. The DMV freedman takes sides with William Darity, a Duke University professor of economics who has called for $14 trillion in reparations for descendants. Quote, it's hard to argue that those who immigrated voluntarily deserve the same reparations as the descendants of those brought to the United States in chains, says Darity, right? So we know what we're fighting for. And we just want to highlight the article. And here is the DMV freedman, our board member of the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen and fellow BTP member, co-founder, etc. Josh is also a part of the DMV Freedmen. He could not be in this picture that day because it was his son's birthday party. But we're looking at the DMV Freedmen right here. We are looking at people who are putting in work in the DC area. There's so many things that are happening, family. There's so many things that are happening. And I just wanted to highlight this because, I failed to do it last night. We had a lot of different discussions that were going on. So I'm going to put that article in the inbox, or the live chat, I should say, not the inbox. I always say that. All right, cool. Let me see. All right, let's stop sharing that. So you all know I was in several articles from the Associated Press, et cetera, et cetera. So like you seen in the thumbnail, that was the NBC News article. And I'll pull that article up. Make sure y'all hitting that like button, family. Make sure y'all share the video out. Make sure y'all support the platform. Support what we're doing because we are moving this thing. We are that creative minority that's moving this reparations movement right now. We are who Narcan and Cobra fear. That's why Cheryl Grills, when she was at the DC panel discussion the other day, took a direct shot at the term Freedmen. She didn't mention any of these other groups because she knows that it is a direct threat to their Pan-African grift, right? So NBC News, government contemplates updating the U.S.'s racial and ethnic categories. The White House's Office of Management and Budget, which is hosting 3 virtual town halls about the subject this week, is set to decide on new classifications next year. You know, they have me quoted. It comes from the Associated Press, the actual reporter that interviewed me. It says Naheem Way is wary of people conflating African American and Black, right? And let me see. What else? Let's get to some of what else that I said in here about disaggregation. I didn't like how they grouped me in with these other groups. It says several Black Americans like Way, whose ancestors were enslaved, said in public comments to the OMB that they would like to be identified in a category such as American freedmen. I'm not reading any of the rest of those. To distinguish themselves from Black immigrants or even white individuals born in Africa, as well as reflecting their ancestors' history in the U.S. I don't know where that white ancestors born in Africa part comes from. Maybe it came from one of those other people and all those other groups. I'm not sure. Some people say, you know, the 3-letter acronym is not a group. It's a group to me. Can't nobody tell me different at all. It's just a group. Put that link in the chat. What else, man? I'm going to show one more from the Chicago Defender. It's myself, Brother Marlon, the Chicago Crusader, one of the oldest Black newspapers in Chicago. It's myself, Brother Marlon Watson, and Dr. Darity. American Freedmen campaign takes root in Black Chicago. Let me put that link in the live chat as well, so you all can click on that. And, you know, we going in. I don't know why their pictures is not popping up. I didn't have a picture in this article. Marlon Watson, president of the Chicago Freedmen, told the Crusader the designation of quote-unquote American freedmen is a necessary step in securing the long overdue reparations, right? So he went in and he says, we want people in Chicago and across the country to tell the federal government that we want to define ourselves in this country, Watson said. Quote, they will determine what will go on the census and what people will be able to claim and how individuals can legally identify. The descendants of enslaved people in America are a unique class of people, and it is time we begin to fully identify as such for a number of reasons. It's time everyone stop getting full of our plates while our people are starving or struggling. And that comment by Marlon Watson was said while a large influx of immigrants were being I don't even want to say influx, because it's not like they migrated there. They were being dropped off there, just like in New York City. And now the city council and the Chicago government in general, along with the government of Illinois, I mean, they're getting funds, $51 million to house and feed all of these immigrants, while freedmen in Chicago are hungry and have been reduced to a criminal culture because they've never had the resources to build businesses, etc. And now Chicago is saying we are going to put all of this money into these immigrants, illegal immigrants. And we watched, speaking of those other groups, matter of fact, I will call it out. We watched as the FBA group and other groups online that I call Pretending, Security Tribe, et cetera, they went and campaigned for people in Chicago. What was this guy's name? Desmond Yancey against Gabriel Piemonte. And, you know, Gabe was a candidate that stood on the reparationist platform. We brought him on our platform. We went through his whole political platform and the plan that he had for the Fifth Ward of Chicago, which would have, by extension, been great for Chicago proper. But because Gabe was tied to what we're doing as American freedmen, well, we got the FBA group and the group that I call the Pretendians that band together. Usually they don't rock with each other, but in this case, they band together so that they could promote Desmond Yancey. Some of these people never did any political campaigning, lobbying, doing in their lives, but to try to deliver us a blow, they were in Chicago. They were in Chicago, and we held this Twitter space on that. Gabriel Piemonte came up and showed how some irrelevant guy by the name of Afro Elite was, you know, one of the FBA guys. He was in in Chicago campaigning for Desmond Yancey. I'm like, is this dude from Chicago? I don't even think he's from Chicago. He just went. It's like, we got to get these BTP and these Freedmen guys up out the paint with this Freedmen. They can't stop anything. They just can't. Did I put this in the live chat? I think I did. They can't. What did Thanos say? What did Thanos say in the Avengers Infinity Wars? He said, dread it, run from it. Destiny arrives all the same. And now it's here. Now it's here. The resurrection of our ancestral spirit. That's here right now. And there's nothing nobody can do to stop it. We are getting stronger and stronger due to our advocacy. That's right, Black Sea. There's no lineage called FBA. It's just not. It's just something that was made up a few years ago. It's just, it is what it is. Either we're gonna get this thing right, or we're gonna get it wrong, or we're gonna lose. Forget getting it wrong. We don't have room to get it wrong. We either get it right or we lose. Point blank, period. And I'm not one for losing. So we as a people have done enough of that. We have done enough of that. What you choose to self-identify as, well, that's on you. But to say that it's something that it's not and trying to dump on what we're trying to do, then you're nothing more than an obstructionist. And we have to call that type of stuff out. So here we have California. One of their recommendations is to establish a Freedmen's Bureau type, or a Freedmen's Bureau type agency in the state of California. This is NBC News, why an 1860s agency that helped newly freed Blacks might return in California. The California Reparations Task Force will recommend a new version of the Freedmen's Bureau to administer any potential reparations program. And all of this is important. Let me put that link in the live chat as well. I'm not going to necessarily get into this article, but we see it for what it is. And this comes in large part due to the advocacy and education of Be the Power and the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen, and working with our family across the country selflessly to get these types of things done. And I tell people all the time that we have a plan. We have a plan. And I want to pull that up real quick, because I want people to know that we're not just here talking. There's so many different moves that are being made. Sister Fate XX, what's going on, sis? And I just want to just go to our website, our link where it says our agenda. Let me put that link in the inbox as well. Put that link in there. And somebody said, get it right or we lose. I'm coming to get my bike back. We should put that on the shirt. That's a fact. I like that. Get it right or we lose. I like that. And put hashtag Freedmen underneath. Put hashtag Freedmen underneath, right? Because some people was worried that Freedmen was going to somehow lose its political status and just be reduced to a hashtag. It's like, what type of gaslighting is that? It don't work here. Anyway, I want to just read these first two elements of our plan. One, it says, by way of the 13th Amendment in 1865, our enslaved American ancestors were free from private bondage nationally. Congress passed the Freedmen's Acts of 1865 and 1866 on behalf of these, our freedmen ancestors. As their direct descendants, we demand to be recognized by the federal government, its Office of Management and Budget, in its federal directive as American freedmen. I showed you one of the articles where I am featured for our push for American freedmen in the Office of Management and Budget as its own separate ethnic category underneath the Black category. Our plan is coming to fruition because it is under heavy consideration right now. It's under heavy consideration. It is the only one that makes sense. It's the only one that makes sense. And the second one is, we demand that the federal government reestablish the Freedmen's Bureau with satellite branches in states where the Bureau is needed. So in many ways, having these local freedmen bureaus be established, and I guess I'll share with the fam, I worked on some legislation for South Carolina, and Brother Marcel, he added some touches to it because, of course, he's a native of South Carolina, and we were able to submit that to some white Republicans, mind you, in South Carolina, and they are taking a long, hard look at that Freedmen's Bureau legislation that we propose. White Republicans, family, white Republicans. So we are working our plan. We are working our plan right now. And I mean, part 3, we deal with deconfederatization. And this was happening naturally during the George Floyd protests. And we see that in 2020, South Carolina removed its Confederate flag. But in 2021, due to pressure and slandering George Floyd's name, they re-raised that flag. And now when you're driving down I-85, I think it was raised in 2021, it seemed like a bigger version than the original. They have up what I call a colossus. That's how huge this flag is when you're driving through South Carolina on I-85. They are letting the world know that we are the seditious rebels to this country. And if we can, we will overthrow this country, or try to overthrow this country again, which is what they tried to do on January 6th. That's why point 3 is crucial, deconfederatization. Matter of fact, let's read this. No child in Germany is forced to attend schools named after Adolf Hitler or drive down a road named in honor of the Nazi regime or its officers. By the same token, no American child should be made to attend public schools named in honor of Confederate war criminals. No patriotic American soldier should serve in the United States military on bases named in honor of traitorous, insurgent, anti-federalists. That's just a fact. It's a fact. And I'll end it here at point 4. I want to read this because those that follow this platform know that we are actively pushing for what we call Back South agenda. Yes, the link is in the scroll up, Sister Satra. The link is the link with me in it. I believe I put it in the inbox. In the live chat. I think it's in there. If not, I'll check back in a few minutes. But I want to read point number 4. And again, family, this was a little pop-up. I know we went live last night, but I wanted to give some shouts to the people that's making moves. I'm going to get to some of the legislation that just happened in Boston and what we know that was established in the state of California. So, number 4, we demand a reconstructive Freedmen agenda, which consists of a fully funded program to facilitate a state repatriation program for the American freedmen. This program will also provide the resources necessary for this relocation back to their southern states of origin, where American freedmen were forced to escape due to government sanctioned domestic terrorism and state oppression. These states are Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware. I have my eyes on one of these states. I'm in the state of Georgia now, but I have my eyes on one of these states because I see some promise there. I was talking to a brother that I met in Sister Sonny Johnson's space, you know, the Black conservatives, and he had read my plan for South Carolina's Freedmen's Bureau. And he was so impressed by it. And he was letting me know about certain states in particular, one I got my eye on, that if I was to pursue such a legislation there, that I actually may meet with some success. So we have a plan. We have a plan. Oh, damn, Josh, my bad, bro. I thought I put the StreamYard link in the inbox. I don't know where I put that StreamYard link at there. Did I put it in the other inbox? Nope. I guess I didn't put it in the inbox. All right. So, you know, that's that. So I'm going to stop sharing that, come out of that. But again, the things that we are pushing for, Freedmen's Bureau, to be recognized as freedmen in this country again, because there's power in that, because it attaches us to our freedmen status. And as long as there is a constitution of this country, as long as there is a country, that status will never, ever change. There's nothing that can be done to interfere with it, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So our Boston family, Session, okay, well, let me answer Session L's question. And matter of fact, let me pull it up. Let me get my sister, Satra Del Ree, one of those articles. I'll put the NBC News article in there. Let me see. Hold on. There's the NBC News article, sis. There's the Associated Press article. I'll put that I'll put both in the inbox. Let me see. All right, now I don't even see the Associated Press article. All right, I put one of them in the inbox. The Chicago Crusader article. I thought I put that in the inbox as well, but I will put that in there again if you were not able to see it. We working, fam. We are working. We are working. Okay, so in Boston, oh wait, my bad. We have a question on the floor. Brother Sessionell said, is there a reason why Texas, Arkansas, or Oklahoma isn't included? Yes. When we are looking at scale and where our people are located at in mass. So this is what I'll do. I'm going to pull up a map, a heat map, if you will. And I want to show you why we are focused on these specific areas. All right, what's the best one? I like this one right here. Open a new tab. All right, so I'm going to pull up this heat map, and I'm going to show you why. This is the freedmen population also called the Black population, right? So this is why we have a focus here in this particular region. When you start pulling up Black demographics, even in Texas, compared to, right, you may say, well, it's a lot of Black people in Texas. Yeah, but when you compare it to the white population and the Hispanic population, we get dwarfed. New York has one of the highest concentration of Black people, and yet it represent its Black population, I believe, is only around 25%. When you look at Cali, all the way over here, 6 million freedmen in Cali, aka Black folk, right? We're going to include all Black people on this one. We see in California that this purple area really represents this concentration of where Black folk are. And the light blue, it shows that we're there, but not in as higher concentration as in the purple area. So we did Oklahoma and Texas. Texas could be a place where we could plant some trees, but if I had my say, I would get all of my people out of Florida and Texas, and I would flood the people from Texas right next door into Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. I would pull all the people up from Florida, flood them into Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina, and really, really create a plurality so that we could have a singularity. Singularity. We're looking for political singularity, to whereas we don't rely on any other group for our political solutions, right? Because that's what's needed right now. Political prescriptions to our problems, which was caused by policy that allowed private citizens to do what they did in this country. Peace, brother Iron Physique. I see you. VLB said, I think there's an advocacy group working on Texas. Yes, in Texas, there is if you mean in regards to the Freedmen's Bureau, I've given a testimony to one of those groups. Shout out to the brother Donald. Brothers out there working in Houston. They are heavily involved with the Freedmen City out there as well. This thing is moving, family. This thing is moving. This thing is moving. Thank you, Sister Shanna, for putting the interview that we did with Charles Blow, who wrote the book, The Devil You Know, detailing the move from all of those other places back into this purple area. That's where our strength is at. That's where our strength is at. Right there, from Maryland all the way down to Louisiana. Delaware, I should say. And I think, Delaware is above Maryland, obviously. So from Delaware down, all the way down to Louisiana, with a specific focus on South Carolina, Georgia, Louisiana, Alabama, and Mississippi, because that's where our larger numbers are concentrated at. But you do have a lot of movement from the north into states like Delaware, which has a large Black population as well. That's another area that we can work our experiment as well. We just need everybody to get on board. But like I said, we have a plan. And you see that in our political plan, right? Having the federal government assist in that plight. Josh and I and Ali, we were speaking earlier about incremental victories along the way when it comes to reparations, right? And establishing freedmen's bureaus in these areas are and would be incremental victories. Some people are scared of this Freedmen thing because of some Twitter trolls. That part was just baffling to me. It's like, the people on Twitter, it's like, huh? Like, this is ancestral here. What are you talking about? So I'm gonna come out of that. Thank you for that question, brother Sessions L, because it made me highlight a point that we had just read from point number 4 from our 12-point agenda. Our plan is coming to fruition, family. We are not playing. You are witnessing the rise of the freedmen in this country, a true resurrection. So let's get to our Boston family. Let me see. Is this bill going to open up in a new window? Let's see. So this is House Bill 3921 in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And shout out to Sister Antonia, Brother Jonathan, all of the family out there that put that work in on making this thing happen. So let me see. Here we go. Let me see where I'm gonna read this part up to. I'll read it. I'll read this whole part. I don't know how well you all can see that. Let's see if it. Okay, yes, it does blow up. So it says the commission shall develop harm reports based on the effects on American freedmen and their descendants in the Commonwealth of harms including enslavement, racial terror, political disenfranchisement, housing segregation, separate and unequal education, racism and environment and infrastructure, pathologizing of Black families, control over creative, cultural, and intellectual life, stolen labor and hindered opportunity, an unjust legal system, mental and physical harm, and neglect, and the racial wealth gap from 1619 to present. Now, we could touch on the 1619 part of this piece. When we're dealing with dates at the federal level, it's imperative that we start with when this country was founded. We have to be very, very clear on that. So that those harms, we can start at 1776, but I know we've had discussions that said maybe even 1774 could be a starting point, but definitely 1776. And, when you're looking at these states like Massachusetts, and when they become states in this country, then you can take a different pathway to those remedies or what we would call, I should say, local equity initiatives. I'm calling all of it reparations because it's reparations to me. It's if whatever comes out of it is still reparative based on some type of harm. What's happening in Evanston is not reparations in any sense of the word. It doesn't meet any of the criteria. But by the strict definition, it's reparations. Now, I can and will join in using the verbiage that says we shouldn't use the term reparations for these local initiatives because, I don't have any problem with that. Just like some people can just use American freedmen because they know that it's a better and the superior framing of the target group for reparative justice. So let me see. Sessions L said, establishing a Freedmen's Bureau follows the same steps as passing reparations legislation. On a federal level, we need a majority House, majority Senate, and the president to sign off. Yes, it's all true. It's all true. But again, we can push to have these things established. And if the required step is the establishment of a Freedmen's Bureau, the reestablishment of a Freedmen's Bureau in the same way they have Office of New Americas, then we go with that. We can take those incremental steps. The acknowledgement of Juneteenth falls in line with what Darity calls ARC, acknowledgement, redress, and closure. So that first part, in a sense, has already happened, right? Juneteenth being a holiday. People were upset about that. I wasn't. As a reparationist, I was not upset with the fact that Juneteenth was an actual holiday. I said, this is an acknowledgement in modern times that, and the fact that it's a federal holiday that's celebrated, like there's no working on that day, depending on your company, of course. It is a paid federal holiday. That is an acknowledgement. The next step is redress. And I won't get into how the Freedmen's Bureau can help with that redress here. But if you're following what's going on in California, then you can understand what I am alluding to. It's more than one way to skin a cat, just so long as the cat gets skinned. And let me drop this bill in the live chat so you all can check it out as well. These are victories, family. These are victories. And I'm gonna let's stop sharing that. And I want to go to YouTube because I want to play a little bit of what I played last night. I want to play from two videos, actually. Play from two videos. All right, so the first video we're gonna play, this is what we shared last night, but I want to play it again, just a little bit of it, because I want people to see just how powerful this Freedmen thing is. Peace, Sister T. Moody L. See how powerful this thing is.
Mr. Speaker, American freedmen, those persons who have at least one ancestor that was enslaved in the United States of America, who was emancipated in 1863 by way of the Emancipation Proclamation, or 1865 by the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, and have been despoiled their rights as citizens due to the badges, incidents, and vestiges of slavery. It is crucial to include the study of lineage-based reparations as the determining factor for eligibility within the community. It is important to note that the current version of the bill does not align with the principles of reparations and raises constitutional concerns under sections of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Furthermore, the lack of support from prominent grassroots reparations organizations in New York, as well as the absence of public support, is evident and will further divide the community. Additionally, this bill does not properly address the intended recipients of the bill, which is the community of eligibility, specifically the American freedmen, descendants of persons enslaved in America.
I can stop it right there. That's where I stopped it at last night, right? So we see that the Honorable Nikki Lucas out of Brooklyn is basically giving a rebuke to the legislation that was passed it was passed, and they're waiting for the Governor Hochul to sign off on it. The Freedmen family in New York has been protesting. They don't want her to sign off on that bill. It's the Pan-Africanists flexing their muscle on us. And that's what happened in New York. That's what happened. And our unity is vital moving forward. We see how powerful this thing is because it doesn't belong to be the power of the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen. It belongs to every last one of us who can trace our ancestry back to emancipated persons in this country, the formerly enslaved, period. Period. And those that try to make it something else, you know, I look at those people kind of funny, but it is what it is. So I'm going to play this from the Supreme Court. And this is Ketanji Brown Jackson arguing if the Freedmen Acts were race conscious. We disagree with Ketanji Brown Jackson. They were not race conscious. This is Ketanji Brown Jackson making a liberal argument in the court. She gets it wrong in that sense, right? And I want to play, I don't know how much of this I'll play. I guess I'll play the part to where she gets to the hated freedmen. So, because I want us all to be familiar with some of the arguments, because we will have our day in court, family. Make no mistake about it. We will have our day in court. And when we get there, the language is going to be airtight. It's going to be airtight. So let's play this.
What I mean by that, I don't think we can assume that just because race is taken into account, that necessarily creates an equal protection problem, because I understood that we looked at the history and traditions of the Constitution, at what the framers and the founders thought about. And when I drilled down to that level of analysis, it became clear to me that the framers themselves adopted the Equal Protection Clause, the 14th Amendment, the 15th Amendment in a race-conscious way, that they were in fact trying to ensure that people who had been discriminated against, the freedmen, during the Reconstruction period, were actually brought equal to everyone else in society. So I looked at the report that was submitted by the Joint Committee on Reconstruction, which drafted the 14th Amendment. And that report says that the entire point of the amendment was to secure rights of the freed former slaves. The legislator who introduced that amendment said that, quote, unless the Constitution should restrain them, those states will all, I fear, keep up this discrimination and crush to death the hated freedmen. That's not a race neutral or race blind idea in terms of the remedy. And
see, oh man, I don't know. I think we're gonna have a conversation on that one day, because and I definitely would need the team on to have that conversation. We need to dedicate a whole live stream to this statement made by Ketanji Brown Jackson, where she says that this was a race conscious, because they said crush to death the hated freedmen. I believe that was Thaddeus Stevens that said that. I know one of the bros will correct me if I'm wrong on that. But because they use that terminology, Ketanji Brown Jackson argues that this was race conscious. In fact, race in this instance was incidental. And that's just a fact. What was their status? Their status was one thing. And the crafters of the Reconstruction Acts knew this. They knew this to be a fact. They knew this to be a fact, which is why Charles Sumner said, not because they're Negroes, but because they are men who have been for generations despoiled their rights. And we sent a letter into the Supreme Court. We tried to get it submitted as an amicus curiae brief, if I'm saying that correctly. I think I am. Friend of the court filing. We were told that it may be too late unless some new development happens in the case. Then they can they can introduce the letter that we sent in and use it, because we want to make sure that not just the conservatives are getting it right, because it seems like they're getting it right. Seems like it. Seems like Ketanji Brown Jackson, she's hitting at it, as my brother Ali likes to say, but she's not quite correct with what she's saying, not in the argument that she's making in the Supreme Court, where they deal with one of the highest standards of scrutiny, and that's strict scrutiny. And I mean, you know, so Swig 13 says, no disrespect, I need knowledge and understanding. What do L mean? Yeah, that's a that's a Moorish platform, bro. You try to we pad, but L just means God though, and I'll L means God in the ancient Canaanite language. That's what L means. It just means God. It means God. But yeah. So we see. Matter of fact, let me pull that back up. Sister Shanna put federal holiday, part of satisfaction, acts of acknowledgement / symbolism, the 5 pillars of international law / guidelines of reparations. And we know Sister Camilla Moore made those 5 pillars of reparations she made it go viral basically when she was at the Revolt Summit sitting next to somebody who ain't know what the hell they was talking about. And we were glad that she was there. I'll tell you that. We were absolutely glad that she was there. And yes, satisfaction is a part of it, and acknowledgement, right? We can look at that as how reparation is used as acknowledgement, redress, and closure. Because non-repetition is one of those pillars when you're looking at it from the international guidelines, right? And we just simply use the term closure. We use the term closure. What's going on, Freedmen Media? Brother Shannon in the building. And that's it. Brother Ali says, if Thaddeus Stevens has said crushed to death the hated blacks or hated Negroes, then she could make a race-conscious argument. The freedmen were a specific group of blacks in the country, and that's a fact. That's a fact, which is why Charles Sumner said that this does not mean those people generally of African descent. And Sister Shanna posts up those 5 pillars: restitution, compensation, rehabilitation, satisfaction, and guarantees of non-repetition. And that's exactly what closure is. Closure is a guarantee. I should not drive down I-85 through South Carolina and see the Confederate flag waving. That's another reason why we're getting pushback from the right. They want to be the seditious rebels. They want to be known as seditious, traitorous rebels to this country while pretending to be patriots. It is the weirdest thing. It is the weirdest thing. It is what it is. And when you're dealing with reparations, those legal minds that would examine reparations, well, they would pass that message along to their Fox News and right-wing media pundits and let it be known we got to dump on this thing because, you know, that guarantee of non-repetition, that closure element of it, well, that means we're going to have to remove all of these Confederate flags. That means we're going to have to rename the remaining bases in this country, military bases, named after rebels, people that were traitors against the United States of America. I just don't understand this fascination with being a traitor in this country. It's just the weirdest thing. Weirdest thing. So, but that's what we have going on right now. And I think one day we're going to do a breakdown on if Freedmen is a race conscious term, because there was an article. Trying to pull it up from my phone is, let me see, is better than trying to pull it up. I'm not going to pull it up, but there was an article when these cases were going on. I believe it was this, no, it wasn't this particular case. This was from the gerrymandering case in Texas, no, Alabama, the Voting Rights Act case. And there was another case where the headline read in one of the newspapers, I think it may have been called The Independent, where I'm gonna pull that up. And it says the Supreme Court is to argue if freedmen was a race term or a. Man, I gotta find that thing, man. Man, I gotta find it. I gotta find it. See if I can pull it up. Because that was a powerful, powerful headline. I know it's in my phone. I'm probably not gonna scroll through all of this stuff to find it. All right, I'm not gonna scroll through all this stuff right now, but I did want to pull that up. Ali brought up Sister Sunny said, Sister Sunny said the Confederate flag is a Democrat flag. So why are the Republicans flying them? And that's just the fact. That's the flag of the Democrat. See, I'll be killing them every single time. That's the one question when they try to pretend like they have no knowledge of the history of party realignment in this country, where after the Civil Rights Acts were passed, I mean, it was already a gradual process that started in the 30s, but after the Civil Rights Acts were passed, we started to see whites leave the Democratic Party and go into the Republican Party. They took it over, and if they could change, then they can change now. I always say that bigoted, devil, racists in this country need to go back into the Democratic Party. I did a tweet the other day about that. I said, and then party politics might attractive to me. It might, because I style myself as a Reconstruction Republican. You really break that down, then well, it goes with this quote that I have up on the screen, where Ali is quoting Sister Sonny Johnson, right? But yeah, fam. So I think one of these days we're going to have Sister Shanna brings up an interesting point about Ketanji Brown Jackson might actually be of Jamaican descent. I don't know. We're going to have to look into that and see if that's a fact. But yeah, fam, I just wanted to get on here and highlight some of the victories that have been happening. We know California, let me not fail to mention that. California's SB 189, where we have the term freedmen being used in the legislation for the first time. That's the first time we see freedmen in any legislation since the Reconstruction era. So, and we at Be the Power and the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen work directly with the organizations in California to make that happen. I'm not going to get into any of the other stuff here right now, but American freedmen is the proper language. Not because it's some ideological push. It's because we want to win. We want to win. Point blank, period. I don't know what everybody else's convictions are, but we want to win, and we believe that we can win. We wholeheartedly believe that. So, fam, that's all I wanted to get on here for. I said I was not going to keep this thing long. But matter of fact, let me share this article. Because I thought this was interesting. Let me put this in the inbox. Biden appointee calls upon UN to act to secure reparations and end the continuation of slavery in the U.S. I'll take us out of here with that. Yes, indeed. This is, and let me be clear. California's SB 189, Section 14. Like, that whole bill is not predicated upon disaggregation. It's just that portion of the bill is dedicated to what we're pushing for insofar as disaggregation and recognizing the American freedmen as its own ethnic group in this country. Although in that legislation, American Freedmen, is being used to define an African American. You all know our position. You all know our position in that regard. We are all for doing away with the term African American because it has become an all-inclusive term. I read that on the live stream last night. Okay, so Brother Derek said Ketanji Brown Jackson is of Jamaican descent, at least half. Okay, so let's dig into her background and see what she's on, because we know that a sister by the name of Lisa Crooms, I believe it's her last name, who is a constitutional law professor at Howard, is trying to push for the 13th Amendment to be used to fight for abortion rights, which is the weirdest thing. And if you are not rooted in our specific bloodlines as American freedmen, then of course you would try to take what's ours and make it yours. This is exactly what people try to do. But I want to share this before we get up out of here. This reparations movement is spreading, and we have to be in front of this thing. And I haven't looked into this, and it's in my browser, and I wanted to pull it up last night, but I forgot. And I had it pulled up for a minute, actually. I just never read it fully. I've skimmed it. But it says, Howard law professor Justin Hansford addressed the United Nations Permanent Forum on People of African Descent last week and called for the establishment of a United Nations reparations tribunal that could order the payment of reparations to African Americans. So, okay, now, okay, let us, we're going to look into this in real time because I haven't been able to look into it. So I'm going to put that link in the chat, and I'm going to go back to the article that I was reading from and go from there. So let's see some of what this brother is talking about and what this article is about. Okay, Professor Hansford objected that white lawyers and politicians have been allowed to control this debate in the United States for too long. But so far, we have left it to the scholars of the past, the lawyers of the past, the white scholars, the white lawyers, to determine the bounds of our legal imagination, to determine the narrow structure that we will use to determine what justice looks like for our own people. So I come to you today with a novel proposal that we begin to think our own thoughts, propose our own vision of justice, and implement that justice as part of the permanent forum on people of African descent. So family, we got homework to do. The forum on people of African descent, I'm going to admit right here that I'm not familiar with it. I'm not familiar with Professor Justin Hansford out of Howard. Now, we know that people coming out of Howard are extremely problematic. I don't know what's going on at Howard. They are putting something in the Kool-Aid there, from the professors to the alums. There's something wrong with Howard. I'm not meeting too many people that have come out of that institution that we see eye to eye with. Society commentary says, Peace Freedman, long time no see. Indeed. Let's get back into this article a little bit. Let's see what they're talking about. The speech in the United Nations is part of growing calls for actions on reparations after years of study and proposals, as task forces in states like California have issued recommendations for payments. And the demands are presenting a challenge for Democratic politicians who have long campaigned on such payments as a moral imperative. The bill has now come due, but politicians like California Governor Gavin Newsom have sought to pivot away from demands from his own reparations task force for massive payments. I'm not sure that that's what Gavin Newsom did, and I don't know why it's being reported that way. The name of this website is Zero Hedge. I don't know. Oh, let's see. Professor Hansford is calling on the United Nations to order such payments by the United States. Again, family, let's look up this brother and see what he's on, see if he's been compromised by the Narcan and Cobra Pan-Africanist machine and regime, if you will, because they are trying to take over this whole push for their own personal grift. We have to continue to keep our foot on their necks and let them know that we are here, and they won't get away with it. They're not. They're not. And we are developing some strategies offline for legal actions that need to be taken. So for those of you who are listening and would like to partner on those legal actions, y'all already know, let's collaborate, even if I might not be personally rocking with you. We got to get these people at the moment. We got to get these people up out the paint. It's just as simple as that. Let me see. Reparations is a debate that we should have as a nation, including in Congress. Recently, Democrats introduced a bill demanding $14 trillion in reparations. We know that that's the Cori Bush bill. Go back and watch our breakdown of Cori Bush's bill. It's horrible, horrible, horrible language that comes directly from NARC and then Cobra operatives like Jam Iwuyar and Nkechi Taifa. It's horrible because they don't care about winning reparations. They care about advancing Pan-Africanism, and that's all they care about, and getting a bag while doing so. We are going to expose some of these reparations organizations really soon. So y'all be on the lookout for that. These people are grifting while reparationists are struggling. The real reparationists are struggling to get funding that we need to push this message forward, right? And let me stop taking digs. I'm going to stop taking digs. I'm going to be easy. I'm going to keep my digs confined to the enemies of our progress. And that it's people like NARC and Cobra. It says the Biden administration nominated Professor Hansford to work with the United Nations Permanent Forum on People of African Descent. Now, let's click on the video. Let's see some of what he's talking about here.
Delegates, colleagues, and attendees. Our theme this year, Realizing the Dream, makes a not so subtle reference to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, delivered 60 years ago this summer. I call it America's most well-known and least well-understood public address. Over the years, it's been distorted, sanitized, and drained of its true radical vision. Despite that, I believe we can now safely say that Dr. King's assertion that the U.S. Constitution was a promissory note, which came back marked insufficient funds for its Negro citizens, was both accurate and ominous. The truth is, Dr. King believed in reparations. He called for it explicitly up until the last speech of his life. The promissory note, the check that he demanded according to the terms of the U.S. Constitution, was never cashed. And it was 60 years ago until today, the wealth gap between African Americans and white Americans remains exactly the same. So 60 years later, it's up to us to now acknowledge him as the visionary he is, because after all of these years, it's now clear, more clear now than ever before, that reparations is what justice looks like in the 21st century. On December 16th, 2005, the UN General Assembly reaffirmed the importance of providing reparations for gross violations of international human rights law, by adopting a 5-point legal framework for reparations, and that has become our norm. That includes monetary compensation proportionate to the gravity of the harms done to our people, restitution, which would include repatriation, reconnection with our identity and our culture,
Nope. There
satisfaction
we
or
go.
repair for
That's why I
moral
wanted to
and
click on it.
ethical and
I hear that narking and cobra language, repatriation. Like, this is the dumbest of reparation strategies. You want to give the money. I'm like, okay, so now it becomes clearer. So what? That's right, Sister Shanna. Now it becomes clearer. What Narcan and Cobra want to do is they want to give the people reparations from the United States of America and then have them repatriate to Africa. They want us to take that money out of the country, into another country. This makes no sense. And as soon as the right wing gets a hold of that plan, it throws our whole thing into disarray. Because then the right wing, you already know what the right wing is going to do. They're going to make those people with the worst arguments be the face. It's like the news interview. Back in the days where they would find the crackhead to tell the story, the drunk crackhead, as opposed that got the missing teeth, as opposed to the person that got, you know what I'm saying, some sense about them and can string together some coherent sentences. That's what they're going to do with Narcan and Cobra. That's exactly what they're going to do. That's right, Sister Rochelle. It's a red flag. Red flag. George Fontenot, or I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, Fontenet, says most academics who share our lineage have opted out of our struggle, rationalizing themselves. The exception to the rest of us paying the quote unquote American black tax. Ali said, yes, it does. They want to have the reparations money build up the continent. It's clear. It's clear. Repatriation should never be a part of a reparations program. We fought too long to hear. Why would I not want to build up South Carolina? I want you all to think about that. That's right, Sister Cynthia Blaine. Most of them people don't want us over there. Sister Cindy, they don't want us over there at all. They don't want us there. They'll tell you, you know, they're not our brothers directly. They've been Americanized for 400 years. You know that number that people use. That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. Sister Shannon said, they all lose out on monies when we are finally repaired. No need for NAACP, Urban League, NARC, and Cobra legacy orgs. They are thriving based on our continued struggles, and that's a fact. That's a fact. That's right, Brother George Fontenet. He said, we have blood equity here. Just solely. If I'm just sanguine, which one is, Ali, help me out. Just solely is blood and just sanguinus is land, I believe it is. I used to know that stuff by heart. That's right. That's what that blood equity is, by blood. And what is the blood? The blood is our freedmen ancestry. And the fact that we've been citizens in this country from day one. In at least 5 northern states, when this country becomes a country, we were citizens. And that's just a fact. And that was highlighted in the Dred Scott, the dissent in the Dred Scott v. Sanford case. It's highlighted. We're gonna start bringing all of this stuff back full circle. And we bring it up all of the time. All of the time. Because we want people, Soli is soil and sanguinus is blood. So I was saying it wrong. I should have figured Soli was soil. It looks like soil. So Yes, the idea, or no, I should say, the idea that we should expatriate and that should be a part of what reparative justice looks like for us is ridiculous. Why would I go build up Ghana when South Carolina needs to be built up? Our communities there. Could you imagine that? You got the money to fix up your own home, but you go move in in somebody else's house and start paying for their repairs. How dumb does that sound? Narcan and Cobra are dangerous, and we got to get them up out the paint, fam. Got to get them up out of here. Got to get them out of here. Got to take them off here. Because they think they good. They think they can whoop up. Boy, I tell you, just let me get mine. That's what I had to tell Greg Carr. I had to send him that video. Y'all let me get mine, and after I get mine, y'all can do what y'all want with them. That's from a scene brother named Akbar, Brooklyn legend, one of the gangs in Brooklyn called the Hellcats before they all turned 5%ers. And the name of that movie is called The Education of Sonny Carson. And that was the only brother that used to ride through Brooklyn, New York on a horse, Brother Akbar. Let me see. Charlie Jacobs said Hansford's position is in line with the goals of the U.S. and African Summit. I would need a little bit more detail on that, Brother Charlie. So a little bit more detail. Yeah, man. So, and this is why we are doing our fundraiser. This is exactly why. Because we are going on a lecture tour so that we can spread the word to colleges and universities and let them know that what we're doing is the real. That's what's real. That's what's real. And I'm going to be on a panel discussion tomorrow. I thought it was today. I just told y'all yesterday how I had all my days confused. My days are still confused. I need a personal secretary in my life. I think that's a better way to say what I wanted to say. I just need me a personal secretary. Help me keep my affairs in order. So Sister Shannon said, I just saw a lot of unfinished homes in Ghana. It was a waste just sitting. Yeah, they want us to take our money. They want us to take our money. And it's just crazy. Go fix up somebody. I mean, think about that analogy, family. I want you all to think about that. You move out of your house. You just got a check. And instead of fixing up your place, you got the money to fix up your house, make it look like new. You go move in with somebody else and you help fix up their home. That is crazy. That makes no sense. And that's why we have to go around and fight these people. And we have to fight fire with water. We have to fight fire with water. Point blank, period. We have to put out the flames that they are trying to fan across this country with the nonsense that they are pushing. That's right, Sister Riri. It makes no damn sense. Makes no sense at all. So this is why we are fundraising right now. This is why we are fundraising right now. Sister Rochelle said Africa owes us reparations. I believe that many of those countries do. Now, the governments, and that's a slippery slope. That's why I don't necessarily use it, but I understand the sentiment because the governments that we have today in Africa didn't exist then. So you would have to go after tribes that are or maybe a part of governments and maybe spread out over different countries. So, that's why, but I understand the sentiment. Don't get me wrong. I definitely understand the sentiment. George Fontanet says, is it too far-fetched to conclude that those espousing repatriation see themselves as saviors to the continent? A distorted vision of themselves as the white saviors to fix African problems? Yes. No, that's not too far-fetched. And yes, what you are saying, I believe theoretically it's true. I believe theoretically that is true. They want to position themselves as saviors. They want statues built next to the new homes that will replace the huts. That's it. With our money. Do you see if you check remittances that leave this country and go to other countries, just look it up. They got money leaving the United States of America. The direct payment portion of reparations for the American freedmen would stay here. It would stay in this country. Again, we bring this up all the time. During the pandemic, American freedmen had the most startup businesses in the country. We didn't want to go back and work for them people. We didn't want to go back and work for nobody. We wanted to work for ourselves. Give us what y'all owe us and then get the hell out of our way. Point blank, period. And we will, in that, take over the governments where we have political majorities at. That purple heat map I showed earlier. And we will run government from there. We will run, think about African kings and queens when we can be kings and queens of the South. Like Game of Thrones. King of the South, Queen of the South. And these will be our senators and our governors. We are in full control over the states that our ancestors were enslaved. That is the vision. That is the goal. What NARC and Cobra is doing is dangerous. They are worse, in my opinion, than the white supremacists who are opposing us because they're getting paid. They are getting paid to push anti-reparations propaganda under the guise of reparations. To me, that makes them more dangerous than the white right, because we can fight the white right in court and defeat them easily because their arguments are weak as hell. But if they do battle with Narcan and Cobra, these interlopers who cosplay as reparationists, as true reparationists, then the white right is going to win. The white right is going to win. We can't let that happen. And so we have to put it in our minds to start challenging challenging ourselves to make sure that we are building up legal defense funds so that when things are happening, we can start putting challenges in. That's right, Brother Charlie Jacobs. Biden committed to providing African countries $55 billion during that summit that happened not too long ago. While American freedmen are suffering, rent prices in this country, especially in cities where we find pockets of freedmen, large pockets of freedmen, are skyrocketing. Skyrocketing. What's going on, Vince Jefferson? Sister Shanna said, that's why they are here in Oakland this week. No reason other than to sabotage local groups due to the efforts of AB 3121. And that's exactly what they're going to try to do. Sabotage it. That's what they did in D.C. a few days ago was a flex. They flexed on us. They got up there and talked a bunch of nonsense and spewed a bunch of wrong information. Greg Carr was sounding like that stuff he was saying made absolutely no sense. He just typed up a whole bunch of big words and just started talking and reading from it. I was like, what is this guy saying? What is he saying? What's going on, Brother Jonathan Bryant? You know, we definitely gave y'all that shout yesterday for the work that y'all are putting in Boston and in the New England area. So make sure y'all go back and check out the replay. But yeah, man, we got to get out there now. And like I'm in contact with an HBCU, and I'm gonna reach out to another HBCU in another state outside of Georgia, because I think, you know, I'm not gonna get into that on the air. I'll be wanting to say certain things, but we know we got a lot of saboteurs, and we know that Narcan and Cobra people are listening. I'm willing to bet Jam listens to every last one of our live streams, trying to figure out ways to undermine us. I'm willing to bet that. Sister Shannon said that was another reason why Kamala went there recently. Final hearing is next Thursday. We shall see if any of them showed up. AMPDM1 said Greg Carr served up chopped salad, chopped salad. Sister Frida said, it's actually insulting at this point. The fact that they think we are that stupid to fall for this BS. We build up our own hashtag Freedmen. That's a fact. That is a fact. So, you know, family, if you can support our efforts, we are not going to stop until we get this thing going, until we take over, excuse me. We're taking over. Go back to the beginning of this live stream, and you're going to see we pulled up several articles featuring the DMV Freedmen, the articles featuring myself in the Chicago Defender, NBC News that came from the Associated Press, the bill that passed, well, that submitted in the House. I forget the number off top, the Boston bill in Massachusetts with American freedmen in it. That section of SB 189 that speaks to American freedmen. They fear us, family. They fear us. Here they come, y'all. Here they come. Here they come, y'all. Here they come. You could get with this. George Fontenay says they pose a serious problem for reparations and our new vision for future American freedmen enterprises. That's a fact, Brother George. That is a fact. Says they are taking advantage of their experience in academia and in politics, not to further their cause, but to sabotage our new energy. And I don't even know, right? We don't know who George Fontenay is, right? We've never seen this brother on a channel, but it goes to highlight what I said earlier about this thing spreading, because George Fontenay, he gets it. He understands that this Freedman thing is powerful. We've never interacted with the brother, but we know that this brother knows his stuff. He knows his stuff. Makes sense. Just makes sense. Makes sense. So let me see. Sister Satra said, honors to the late scholars that taught about African kings and queens to build the self-esteem of freedmen experiencing redlining, Jim Crow, terrorism. I don't know what BAUY, hashtag Freedmen history. Yes, we honor John Henrik Clark. We honor George G. Jackson. We honor, I mean, who else we can name? What's his name, man? Black man of the now. Joseph Ben Yakinen. We honor those scholars, man. We're not, because we didn't have anything else. They didn't know about Prince Rivers. They didn't know about Robert Smalls. They didn't know about these people, but we know now, and we now have to start writing our own history. And I believe that a movie is being worked on right now about Robert Smalls. Movie is being worked on right now about Robert Smalls. See, that's due to our advocacy. It's due to our advocacy, you know? We get into this thing. We are definitely getting to this thing. All right, I got that. I just seen your text message, Brother Derek. I'm going to check that out about Ketanji Brown Jackson as well. Right? We don't have no problem with honoring African history, but like I said, I think that was in the Twitter space the other day. It was in the Twitter space the other day when I was talking about us taking back our culture. I watched that series on Shaka Zulu when I was young. I was inspired by it. In fact, Brother Logic speaks to the fact that, or speaks to how he first came across me was on a video that I did with Sanetta, and I was making the Shaka Zulu references. I was like, you know, a lot of these other guys basically on Sanetta channel, they like to throw these spears from a distance. I was like, I'm like Shaka Zulu with the short, broad spear. I was like, I'll just run up on you and start hitting you. You know what I'm saying? And Brother Logic said that was the first time you were put on my radar. He was like, I like that, brother. Then we got into our debates, and I had to block him. But that's how me and Grim started off debating with each other. I ain't blocked Grim though, but you know, we was debating all the time. And then, you know, things just make sense. And then it just started to pull together. And we founded Be the Power and the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen. And that's why I said the other day, we honor our brothers, even though you don't see Grim and Logic on this platform anymore. We still honor our brothers, point blank, period. They will always be mentioned when we, in those reparationists fighting across this country, when our names are carved in the stones, their names will be right there too. Their names will be there too. Make no mistake about it. I seen that little quip the hashtag leader said, talk about where's Brother Logic these days at anyway. You know what I'm saying? Trying to make her little, you know, take her little dig. But it's still here. Brother Logic and Brother Grim is in every word that we speak, family. And every word that we speak. So stop playing with us. Stop playing with us. So yeah, man. So yeah, check out the fundraiser. It's funny, right? I want to get off. I'm waiting for Josh to jump on because I know that that's exactly what Josh wants to do, is wait for me to say, all right, y'all, I'm about to close it out. So that's the only reason why I've been going for these past 20 minutes. But since Josh is not going to do, hey, Charlie Jacobs right on time said, here comes Josh. Here comes Josh, right? Right on time, right on time. So, but I was literally, that's what I've been doing for the past 20 minutes. I'm like, I want to get off, but I'm going to just wait because as soon as I say that, Josh is going to jump on. So being that Josh is not jumping on, let's close this thing out, family. Thank you all for listening, man. This Freedmen movement is really taking off all across the country. And we're making sure that reparative justice for our people starts there. It starts with the political status of freedmen. And that's why American freedmen, tying that into the status is important. In the same way that Chickasaw freedmen and Choctaw freedmen, although they may be are classified as Negro, right? In the old records and in the new records, classified as blacks in this country. They identify themselves as Chickasaw freedmen, Choctaw freedmen, etc. When Maxine Waters drafted up legislation, she names the Chickasaw freedmen and the Choctaw freedmen in those bills. She names them. Okay, so Texas Freedmen Affairs PAC says Justin Hansford is a NARC commissioner. Whoop. You already know. Sister Satra said we need Grim to teach us the spiritual side in those think tank spaces. That's right. Because our brother Grim's analogies are always, the spiritual analogies and how they weave into this thing are always on point. Always, you know? So, yeah, that's right. That makes sense, Sister Shanna, that in response to Texas Freedmen Affairs, Justin Hansford being a NARC commissioner, talking that expatriation stuff. Well, we know what that means. We know that that's that narking and cobra language, that bad language. You're going to repatriate to another country. You're going to expatriate from the United States of America. Take your money and go build up another person's home. Yeah, Sister Cindy. Yep. I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. Okay, brother Texas Freedmen Affairs said his hands are all in the evaluation. All right, fam, that's some more homework for us to do. Let's get into this United Nations thing and make sure that our voices can be heard there. We got to be in every space, in every place. People need to know that the American freedmen have resurrected. And we got some people that's scared to use the term. We got some people that's scared to use that term, but we coming. We coming. We are coming. Our nonprofit has launched its membership drive. Oh, family, let me say this, because we were supposed to have meetings this weekend. I forgot all about Juneteenth weekend. I have been so busy putting our organizational stuff together, I've drafted up so many proposals and request letters, et cetera, and shared it with the team. And we've been working on a lot of different stuff that my brain is just off. I mean, literally, I thought today I'm supposed to be speaking discussion in Athens, Georgia, and on reparations. And I thought it was today. Literally, I was there and I'm like, yeah, I'm looking for, and they like, we don't have that. I looked at the date again. I'm like, geez, it's just been off. I've been off. And that's why I said I need a personal secretary, to help me in my daily affairs. Mr. Washington said, damn, you've been that busy. Yes, Mr. Washington. I cooked a whole meal on Saturday because I thought Sunday was Father's Day. And because I thought Saturday was Sunday, which is Father's Day. And I'm like, nobody hit me up and said Happy Father's Day. Yo, it's just been a crazy past week. Yes, I have absolutely been that busy. I've been that busy. I've been eating and drinking. And I was up to, I think, 2 something. I think this morning, working on stuff. I went to lay down to go to sleep. I got right back up. I was like, you know what? I need to finish. I need to finish this thing. I need to finish what I'm working on. And I did just that. So yeah, man, we got to make sure that we are in these places, in these spaces, letting it be known, letting our voices be heard. The American freedmen have resurrected, and there's nothing that anybody can do about it. Anybody. There's nothing anybody can do about it. So with that, fam, we're going to close this thing out. You already know the motto. If you didn't hit the like button to the video when you came in, please hit that like button. You already know, man, it don't cost nothing to do that. Again, check out our fundraiser and make sure that Ali telling me to be quiet. My bad, Ali. I was getting a little hype. I was getting a little hype. Like I said, I'll be wanting to talk about some of this stuff. Man. It's so crazy that people would try to sabotage what you're trying to do, like what they're doing at the reparations, the Cali Task Force reparations hearings. Them people that's going up there talking all of that indigenous stuff is doing that to try to sabotage what's going on. It's crazy, man. Crazy. You're right, Ali. My bad, bro. George Fontanet says, keep unearthing American freedmen history. The key is there. We should go through the legislative record for any and all information that specifies American freedmen. I think our answers lay there. That's a fact, Brother George. There's something else that we want to get in. I want to get into so bad. I want to get into it so bad. Honest, Brother George. But Ali is like, nah, and Josh is like, we not getting into that publicly right now, man. And I was speaking with a brother today, the brother I was telling y'all about earlier, and we were talking about that. And he was very, very familiar with it. And I mean, it's powerful. Some of this legislation that was put on the books for us is still there. And, you know, that's right, Sister Riri. Our people have been conditioned to be crabs in the barrel. I just want to call them humans, man, in the barrel, right? Because the crabs are just genuinely just trying to get out the barrel, and they are inadvertently pulling each other down. Humans, on the other hand, it's like, oh, look at that. This Negro is climbing out the barrel. Hold up. Get your ass back down at the bottom with me. AMPDM1 says, is there a Freedmen legislative archive? You know what I'm going to do before I get off of here? Let's pull that up. Let us pull that up. So let's go through this in real time. Let's go through this in real time. So this is congress.gov, right? So they obviously have a search tool here, search bar. So I'm about to say Google, which I shouldn't be saying because I'm not Googling. You see how modern usage just takes over our thinking, and that's why I use American Freedmen in place of Black most of the time. Let's type in keyword the term Freedmen, and it said all sources or legislation. Let's see. Freedmen in, okay, all sources. In all sources. All right, so what I'm going to do, because we've pulled this up before, is we want to scroll 1 through 5. No, this is new stuff. But see, some of this is based on the, why is it showing only, you know, this is interesting. You punch in Freedmen, and Cori Bush's bill is down here. Hold up. Let's look at this for a minute. Let us look at this for a minute. What's going on, Sister Roz? We pulled the article up earlier. We had to highlight the work that y'all are doing. But this is interesting. This is Cori Bush's bill. So when you type in the word Freedmen, her reparations, that trash bill they came up with came up. House Resolution 464, acknowledging that unborn children are legal and constitutional persons who are entitled. What? Hold on, fam. We are discovering some things in real time. What's going on here? Did they use the 13th Amendment in this text? I'm sorry, fam. We're going to extend this for a couple more minutes. HRES 464, acknowledging that unborn children are legal and constitutional persons who are entitled to the equal protection of the laws. What's going on here? Are these Republicans? These have to be these are Republicans. I'm not familiar with not one of these. Oh, Ms. Boebert. Okay, well, I see a Republican name. So let's see what are they using here? And why is this coming up under Freedmen? Okay, whereas the 14th Amendment to the Constitution guarantees, quote unquote, due process of the law and quote unquote, the equal protection of the laws to quote unquote any person. These slick devils. Look at this, fam. Let's put this in the let us put this in the live chat. Sheesh. All right, but you see it, AMPDM1. You're gonna see like it goes all the way back to the 1863, if I'm not mistaken. But all of this is about the foot. Oh, hold up. Look at what we have here. Whereas the drafters and ratifiers of the 14th Amendment expected the amendment to apply not only to freedmen and Black Americans, but to every member of the human species within the jurisdictional reach of the Constitution, they intentionally selected the expansive language of any person to ensure that no state would ever again subject any class of persons to inferior or invidiously discriminatory treatment. This is interesting. family. Make sure y'all click on that. And we gonna get to doing some dissection. Let me put this in our inbox. Let me put this in our inbox. Hold up, in our inboxes. This is something we got to look at. These Republicans is crazy, boy. They understand this stuff when they want to use our stuff for themselves, but when we're using it, they get all dumb on us. Ew, this is interesting. Not only to freedmen and Black Americans. Notice the distinction there? That means that they understand the status. They understand it. And we know that because there's a fight in the Supreme Court. These old slick devils here. Wow. Interesting. Let's look at some of this other stuff. Let me see. Supporting the goals and ideals of National Women's History Months. This is a Democrat from out of California, commemorating the life and legacy of Sojourner Truth and celebrating Juneteenth. So this was a new bill? Yes, I've been hearing about this bill. I thought they were talking about in retrospect. Celebrating Juneteenth. So this is something that is passed. From the congressional record, celebrating Juneteenth, yada, yada, yada. Well, let's see if they have the word Freedmen in here. Find. When General Granger read these words of General Order Number 3, set off joyous celebrations of the freedmen and women of Texas. That sentence is written wrong. Okay, here we see freedmen again. Juneteenth was first celebrated in Texas, in the Texas state capitol in 1867 under the direction of the Freedmen's Bureau, and remains the oldest known celebration of slavery's demise. So Sheila Jackson Lee, they're using Freedmen family. Let's put this in the chat. This is more homework for all of us. This is more homework. Yep, Sister Roz, it looks like they are attempting to redefine freedmen. Let me see. Sister Renee LaRock says Nicholas Seraphim from Santa Clara University is actively trying to redefine Section 2 of the 13th Amendment for LGBT. I need to see that, sis. Can you send me an email? Send me an email. I want to read that because we've exposed on our live stream how they are trying to use the 13th Amendment for abortion rights. And wherever we see this at, we have to make sure. That's why I wanted to go through this list to see what was proposed. We want to make sure that we are setting the challenges, period. Okay, in the same bill, recognizing the importance of this date, former slaves coined the word Juneteenth to celebrate the occasion, the first of which occurred in the Texas state capitol in 1867 under the direction of the Freedmen's Bureau. So we see the term freedmen being used in reference of the Bureau and in reference or, referencing the people. Joyous celebrations of the freed men and women of Texas. That F should be capitalized. That F should be capitalized. So this is interesting. This is very, very interesting, family. But yeah, so we see what they're doing. But you could go to congress.gov. What is the other one? Archive.org. Let's see is this it? Yep. Now, what happens when you go to archive.org and you punch in Freedmen? Now, all right, what's going on? When you go to archive.gov and type in Freedmen, it's endless. It's just like endless. You just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And y'all see me, I'm scrolling. Every last one of these has to do with Freedmen. And I can keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And it just seems to never end, fam. It just seems to never end. Every last one of these books and articles and pieces of legislation and archive.gov has to do with the Freedmen. This is from a book called The Freedmen of South Carolina, some account of their appearance, character, condition, and I don't know. Let's see what else it says. Can we read that? And peculiar customs. And when you use a term like peculiar customs, then you are defining one of the legs of what constitutes an ethnic group. You see? So, I mean, family, we got everything we need. And for those of you that are willing to go and help us pull out gems from these particular, because we don't have the time anymore to look, to pull up that stuff. Peace, Sister Ashura speaks. We don't have time to go through all of that anymore, but we just pulled up some archives. That's right, Sister Cindy. We definitely got some work to do. Yes, indeed. So look, family, all right, now we're getting up off here, but that just sparked me. So we got homework. We got some homework, and let's start looking more into this thing. There are things that Sister Satra said, have you discussed Trump wanting to get rid of birthright citizenship? We haven't discussed it. I don't know if we've had that discussion among ourselves, because what does that look like? What does birthright citizenship really look like in 2023? The 14th Amendment didn't give us citizenship, right? The 14th Amendment helped solidify our citizenship. It helped solidify birthrights that we already had that were pretty much enumerated in the Civil Rights Act of 1866. But even before that, where it's been proven that we've been citizens of this country from day one, then we have to take a different look at what birthright citizenship means when it comes to immigrants, right? When it comes to dreamers, because Eric Foner, we respect his work. He's the foremost scholar on the era of Reconstruction. He believes that birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment should be extended to DACA recipients, the dreamers. And that's where we depart. We want to deal with what this legislation means. Even what I just read from those Republicans about protecting fetuses I'm against abortion, so I have no problems with that. But trying to use the 14th Amendment, there's a thing called original intent. Just saying, we can't let people use our stuff anymore. And so that topic of birthrights is one that, if we have the discussion, the team and I will explore among ourselves before we get into it publicly. And but I mean, yeah. So I mean, I don't know. We might have that. Okay, Ali coming on. Yeah, what? Hey, bro.
I pulled a Josh on you today, man.
Pull the Josh on me.
Well, that's only because you brought this up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't want to stay on that. But what he's talking about is for immigrants. He's not talking about birthright citizenship for natural born citizens. He's talking about how the 14th Amendment is being misconstrued by Democrats to allegedly apply to foreigners who come into this country and then have babies, even though they themselves are not citizens. So what the Democrats have done is try to pretend that an illegal alien, if you will, can have a baby in this country right? And a baby will be a citizen because of their misconstruction of what the 14th Amendment is actually saying. And so that's what Trump is trying to get at. He's trying to get at that, but he's not talking about birthright citizenship for natural born citizens. He's talking about the misconstruction of the 14th Amendment. I just wanted to say that.
Indeed, indeed. And in that, it's like it's hard to disagree. It's very, very hard to disagree with that position. So it's like ending birthright citizenship, because the fight is going to ultimately be about the 14th Amendment. And when these fights happen, we now have the wherewithal to file amicus curiae briefs. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. I think I'm saying it correctly. Or is it amicus curiae briefs?
I'm not sure.
Why not just pull it up and see? Okay. All right. I'm saying it wrong because it's not amicus, it's amicus, but it's not giving me the whole word. It's just giving me amicus. I want to know what the curate, how to pronounce that part as well. Let's see. So it's not amicus, it's amicus. And we don't get a sound for, let me see, curia, Latin plural, curia, Roman, Latin, so curia, amicus curia, I believe is the proper pronunciation. So I guess I'll be saying it right from here on. And all my lawyer people that's out there, y'all could have corrected a brother. You know, y'all know I'm from the hood. Sister Camilla, you could have hit me up and be like, yo, hey, brother Naheem, you saying amicus curia wrong. You know, so yeah, so fam, yo, Ali, you want to share anything else?
Nah, that was it, my brother. That's it.
Okay, so I do have one more question. Sister Satra asks, what is the banner behind you? It's something that I came up with. Let me close this down so you can see it. It the original version, I had to like I can't use that because of how it looked and what people will perceive it as. So I was like, nah. But the goal was to create a symbol using 4 F's: family, fidelity, freedom, and force. Right, and that force part of it is like the Air Force or the Space Force or our armed forces would be that paramilitary aspect of, you know, some things that I'm working on in planning. When we did the membership video the other day, I spoke about Freedmen Youth Military Academy. You know, it ties into some of that, bringing our families back together. What does fidelity mean? Fidelity means loyalty. We've been loyal to ourselves in this country up until more recently. We've kind of lost that, you know, lost that loyalty. Mr. Washington said F equals 6. So 6666. Nah, Mr. Washington. Nah, bro. But even if you look at 666 from the biblical narrative, it says that it says the number of the beast is the number of a man. So the number that they gave the beast was a man's number, right? But nah, it's not 66666. I don't know if I added an extra 6 there. But we all know what freedom is. And freedom is something that we are fighting for, right? In this country. And we don't mean physical freedom. We mean mental freedom. We mean economic freedom. We mean the freedom to pursue life, liberty, happiness, property without our rights being infringed upon. That fight that our ancestors have been fighting from day one in this country, that freedom fight. And so the symbol is a symbol that's rooted in those ideals and Americana. and Americana. So, I mean, Mr. Washington, I don't know if you're being antagonistic or what, but it is what it is. He said, sure, I believe you. Hey, that's what it is. I didn't have no sixes in mind when I put this together. You know, this with that symbol there, I like it. It just looks like a shield to me. And that's what I thought of when I was creating it. I wanted to create something that looks like a symbol of protection. 42 tribes said Iron Maiden said 666, the number of the beast, hell, and fire was spawned to be released. I mean, yeah, but that ain't got nothing to do with this symbol, though. Nothing to do with it at all. This symbol represents family, fidelity, or fidelity. Some people pronounce it fidelity. I pronounce it fidelity, freedom, and force. And those, in my opinion, are powerful, powerful, principles to stand on. Okay, Mr. Washington, I ain't know what you was doing there, bro. I ain't know what you was doing there. But those are powerful, powerful principles to stand on. Come out of my last organization, the principles was love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And in many ways, these 4 principles embody that, right? When we're dealing with family and fidelity, we're dealing with love. We're dealing with love. When we are dealing with freedom and we are dealing with truth. We're dealing with freedom. When we are dealing with peace and justice, we essentially are dealing with force, because in order to keep the peace, we have to have that thing established to make sure that no confusion penetrates that realm where we are practicing our peace at. There's a city called the Mahabharata Vedic city out. It's either in Idaho or Iowa. And it was founded by some Hindus that came to this country in, I believe, 1977. Charlie Jacobs said it looks like 4 inches. I like that. Tools of a workman, a tool of a workman. Looks like 4 inches. I didn't know if people would like it. I was trying to get some feedback last night. I didn't get none in the live chat. I was like, all right, well, maybe they don't like it. Maybe they don't like it. I like it. And it's not because I created it. I can say that it kind of looks a little awkward, but that's the beauty of it. It's not supposed to look like it's in line with anything else that we are used to seeing. It's supposed to look awkward. I would wear that around my arm, Dan. You know, my brother Logic used to talk about creating something that we would wear around our arm as an armband. I would put that on there. I absolutely would. I absolutely would. But what was the point I was making? I forget the point that I was making. My brain has been all over the place, family. But anyway, having these elements undergird our push, not just as our organization, the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen. This is something separate from that. This is just my personal idea on a vision that I am personally trying to develop as I move our people forward into the future, because we need something. The spiritual, the spiritual element is gone. 42 tribes. Well, are those fist symbols or thumbs down signals? I can't tell. I can't tell if those are fist symbols or thumb down.
They're fists.
Those fists. Okay, cool. They look like thumbs down initially. So honors. Yeah, definitely Sister Satra 13 Stripes. We are keeping in line with Americana. We are keeping in line with the color scheme of red, white, and blue. Those are our colors now. Okay, 42 Tribes said he was trolling too. We know who 42 Tribes rocks with. And we try to keep things in a perspective over here. When it's love is love. But we're in battle mode. We're in battle mode. It is what it is. But we've always tried to keep it in love. That's how we came on the scene. That's how we came on the scene. But yeah, you know, this is a symbol that I think is powerful. I like it. I like it. I would like to hear back from you know, a couple of my bros on this thing as well. You know, to see if they like it, if that's something that they would utilize, because I think it's something that people can get up under. And I'm working on some hip hop tracks right now, and putting some bars down. Y'all gonna see this symbol. y'all gonna see this symbol, because it's to me, it's a symbol of freedmen, family, fidelity, freedmen, and force. And that force, I mean, we can break, man, how many stars? I forgot how many stars. Let's count them. I forgot how many. So this way we won't forget. So 1, 2, 3. I think it's 23, matter of fact, but let's count them anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. And as a 5%er, 2 plus 3 equals 5, right? And that means power. 5 in the supreme mathematics means power. And when you come out of the school of thought, the last school of thought that I just came out of, well, its teaching says that power is a manifest of force. Power is a manifest of force. You see, so there's so many different ways we could get mathematical with this thing. There, we can get mathematical with this thing. We could come up with some dope interpretations, you know. We could come up with some it's 23 stars, Sister Satra. We could come up with some interpretations on this thing, play with it, toy with it. If somebody got some ideas, hit me up. If you got my email address, hit me up. If you know how to reach me by phone, hit me up. If you got DM me on Twitter or Facebook Messenger. Let's build. I'm always trying to build, family. I got children that I want to see live comfortably in this country in the way that we or our ancestors never got a chance to. And so I'm working on my end in several different areas, and that's why my brain is all over the place. And I'm calling for my personal secretary, you know. So yeah, man. But yeah, family. This is what it is. This is what it is. And we moving. We moving. We are moving. Make no mistakes about it. We are definitely moving. So with that said, fam, we're gonna get up out of here. Thank you all for listening in. It's crazy how I stayed on because I was expecting Josh to come on and he didn't come on. So with that said, I'll leave you all with the motto of the platform, which is don't just fight the power, become the power. And then and only then will you have the power to make a change. And with that, I say peace.